Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, continuing our schedule previews of our way too early top 25. And today we're taking a look at Mack Brown and the 20th ranked North Carolina Tar Heels. One of the biggest surprises in all of college football last year. And that's saying a lot considering they just went 7-6. But Mack Brown comes out of retirement, hadn't coached since like 2013, takes over a UNC program that had won 5 games in the previous 2 years combined. In year 1, gets them to a bowl game, wins that bowl game 55-13 over Temple. Unbelievable. Unbelievable job by him, and even better, unbelievable job recruiting by him. UNC, dangerous on the recruiting trail. But also what blows my mind about last year's season with North Carolina is that all 6 of their losses were decided by 7 points or less. And that includes a 1-point loss to Clemson and 2 overtime losses. 2 overtime losses, including that 6 overtime loss to Virginia Tech, and then the overtime loss to Pittsburgh as well. So this could have been, last year, could have been an unbelievable season for North Carolina. They win those close games, they might be contending for a New Year's Six bowl game. They might be contending for a spot in the college football playoff. But nonetheless, 7-6, and they're going to be even better in 2020. They return the great Sam Howell, who was phenomenal at quarterback last year for UNC, and he gets basically all of his wide receivers returning for 2020. They get a very experienced defense that's coming back. A defense that only allowed 23.7 points per game last year. Not bad at all, considering the state of UNC defenses in years prior. The ACC Coastal is once again relatively wide open, and many have North Carolina winning that division in 2020. Mack Brown's got a very talented squad coming in. We're going to take a look at their schedule, just kind of analyze the path and what it would take for them to get there. Of course, not predicting anything during this time. So we take a look at their schedule right here. Before we even jump into the beginning of it, the first thing that sticks out to me is that they have to play 8 games before they get a bye week. You know, last year, a lot of teams, the majority of teams got double byes. They got 2 bye weeks in the season. Not going to be the case this year. And you look at this, from September 4th to Halloween, they're playing football nonstop, North Carolina. They're going to be exhausted. And the schedule, not very easy during that time. The last third of the schedule, fairly manageable, more so than the first 2/3. We take a look right here. When you're looking for games that are going to be important, when you're looking for a stretch of games that's going to be the biggest and most defining, is right here at the beginning of the season for North Carolina. It's pretty much the entire month of September. We've got the road game at UCF, Auburn in Atlanta, James Madison, who was in the FCS National Championship last year and is always one of the best FCS programs out there, and then Georgia Tech to kick off ACC conference play. You go on the road to face Central Florida, a team that's going to be favored to get to the AAC championship, maybe win the entire conference. Dangerous, explosive offensive team led by Dylan Gabriel at quarterback. Josh Heupel doing a phenomenal job there. Got to go on the road there on a Friday night for a season opener. Could be a top 25 showdown depending on how UCF gets ranked. So right there, not easy for Mack Brown and the Tar Heels. Not easy. Remember, this is a team that did lose to Appalachian State last year. So while expectations are high, while the talent is there, still got some things they've got to figure out. And a road game at UCF is not the time to try to do that. They then go to Atlanta to take on Auburn. SEC versus ACC showdown. I'm very excited for this game. Week 2 has so many great marquee matchups. So many great top 25 matchups. Resume boosting matchups. More so than week 1 will have. And this game in Atlanta against Auburn is going to be very interesting. I think you're going to see a more high-octane UNC offense going up against Bo Nix and Auburn, who's played very well last year for a true freshman, but also loses a lot of key pieces defensively. Auburn's a team that many have up in the top part of the SEC West. They beat Alabama in last year's season finale. Maybe some are considering a West dark horse. So this is going to be very telling for both teams. The first true test for really Auburn and North Carolina, even though the Tar Heels could very well lose in week 1. So they don't get a home game. North Carolina does not play at their home stadium until week 3. And once again, James Madison is absolutely no pushover. While these FCS opponents are supposed to provide easy victories for these Power 5 and FBS programs, not always the case. I can guarantee you James Madison is not just going to come in here and roll over. I know it's been a long time, but remember, I believe it was back in 2010, 2011 that the Dukes came in and took down Virginia Tech, who at the time was 13th in the country. James Madison, North Dakota State, guys like that, they fear no one. And then they get Georgia Tech. While that's not necessarily a big game, that's not necessarily a game that North Carolina might be scared about. It is the first conference game for them. They do kick off ACC play against the Yellow Jackets. They beat them 38-22 last year, but any conference game is a big game, and certainly the first one is a big game. Those are, wacky things happen when you face off against your first conference opponent. So that's why Georgia Tech is kind of in this stretch here. But the entire month of September will be very telling. I think a lot of people will have them at 2-2, winning these 2 games against James Madison and Georgia Tech, losing to UCF and Auburn. And then they will say the hype's not real, they're going to fail. Doesn't matter. If they're 2-2, people are going to disregard North Carolina and just be like they were overhyped anyways. Look at the FPI here. FPI has them at 9-3, and I'll give you a little hint. FPI does have them losing to Central Florida and Auburn, meaning that they only have them losing one more time the rest of the way after the first 2 weeks of the season. A slow start does not mean the season is lost, especially for Mack Brown and the Tar Heels. So they get out of September. Brutal, brutal month for them. At Virginia, Virginia Tech, at Duke, at Miami. Next slate of 4 games. If I'm North Carolina, I'm more scared about Duke and Miami than I am about Virginia and Virginia Tech. Not saying that those 2 teams are better than Virginia and Virginia Tech, but I am saying that 3 of those next 4 games are on the road. Really, the schedule doesn't do North Carolina any favors when it comes to their home slate. Road, neutral, 2 home, and the next 3 of the next 4 are on the road. But I don't like back-to-back road games here. I don't like the fact that they're creeping up on a bye week. They haven't had any rest. Schedule's been tough, might get a little worn down. Duke gets Chase Bryce, transfer quarterback from Clemson. David Cutcliffe knows how to breed quarterbacks. Not saying Duke's going to be an ACC champion this year, but I am saying they could get back to the postseason. Same thing with Miami. They made the postseason last year, just barely. They went 6-7. They get D'Eriq King now, transfer quarterback from Houston. Could be enough to turn that 6-win season last year into possibly an 8 or 9-win season last year. D'Eriq King is that good, and I would expect Manny Diaz to make a lot of changes to get the U back to relevancy. He's kind of on the hot seat right now because 6-7, unacceptable down in Miami. So back-to-back road games there, gonna be tough. UNC beat Miami last year, beat them 28-25 in week 2. Not a lot of people expected that. They beat Duke last year, barely beating them 20-17. Both are on the road now. Not going to be easy. Virginia Tech, certainly a game that's not going to be easy either. Many have them as big-time contenders in the ACC this year, big-time contenders in the Coastal Division. It kind of might be a toss-up between UNC and Virginia Tech. The winner of this game could win the division, and keep in mind it's also a rematch of that 6-overtime thriller we saw last year, which Virginia Tech ended up winning 43-41. So a little revenge factor there. Memories will be, kind of coming back for this game on October 10th. And then Virginia, last year, kind of similar to this Virginia Tech game in 2020, that game against Virginia last year basically decided who would win the Coastal Division, and the Cavaliers got the edge there, defeating the Tar Heels 38-31. And they ended up winning the Coastal and going to the Orange Bowl. So very, very tough slate for North Carolina right off the bat. But I do think Virginia takes a step back. I don't know how great Duke's going to be. I'm more concerned about the back-to-back road games, but if you're looking for toughest games out of those next 4, it will certainly be Virginia Tech and Miami. So, tough slate for UNC. Finally get their bye week on Halloween. Get that day off. Back half of the slate, not bad at all. Last third, not bad at all. 3 of the next 4 are at home. UConn should be a relatively easy win. Pittsburgh, they lost to the Panthers last year. Pat Narduzzi's teams are always kind of hard to predict. You never know. They're a team that could win anywhere from 5 to 8 games in a given season. You got a Boston College team here that's dealing with a brand new head coach and quarterback issues. Jeff Hafley coming over from Ohio State. but doesn't have many answers at quarterback right now. And then NC State in the rivalry game, I don't think it's going to be much of a competitor this year. Might get back to the postseason, but the Tar Heels won that game 41-10 in 2019. Last 4 games, nothing compared to the first 8. First 2 especially the most daunting. So expectations are high in Chapel Hill. We know that. We know expectations are high at North Carolina this season. The talent is there to have a very special season. And the FPI certainly believes they can do that. 9 wins, a chance at 10 wins in year 2 for Mack Brown. With all the recruiting classes that he has coming in the future, North Carolina is going to be contending strongly for a very long time in the ACC, if all this plays out. But I don't think last year was a fluke. I don't think those close games were a fluke. I think with Sam Howell there, as long as he can stay healthy, he gives UNC a fighting chance to win every single game on this schedule until maybe they meet Clemson in the ACC championship. But nonetheless, big expectations. 9-3 from the Football Power Index. This is a team that I'm very, very excited to watch in 2020. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here on YouTube at The Gridiron Expert. Make sure to continue to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out everything we have for you in the description below. Exclusive college football content, news, and offers from us right here at The Gridiron Expert that you do not want to miss. And once again, as always, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.